The Packers might not be number one in the power rankings. However, after last night, they are number one in the NFC. Bear down, baby. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Suck it, Seahawks. Now you can't be undefeated either. Grossi, and today we'll be taking a look at the top 10 power rankings heading into week 8. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. First, over on the Patreon side of things, we have Jeremiah Dowen. Then we have Nil. Thank you very much. Then over on the YouTube side of things, we have Damian Crott, we have Guy Michelle, we have Brennan Kinder, we have Ordinal03, and Charlie Toussaint. A big shout out and thank you to you all for your support. So the Chicago Bears. Well, they had themselves a night, huh? And their defense continues to be really, really good. Really good. One of the best in the NFL. However, that offense, not so good. And so, it's with a heavy heart and with much disappointment that the Chicago Bears leave the top 10 this week. And as you can see, I am so broken up about it. So broken up. So there's definitely some fluctuation happening in the top 10. So without me yammering on about it, let's just get into it. Starting at number 10, and I know this is going to be controversial, but I feel it. I have the San Francisco 49ers. Now, hold on. Hear me out. Anyone who has been a part of this channel for the last 5 seconds know I have a pretty big disdain for the 49ers, which is completely rooted in envy and jealousy. 100%. I can admit that because I'm a big person. But the 49ers, they started off, not so good. Injuries abound, losing guys for the season, losing guys for weeks who are integral parts of that offense and defense. And yet, these past 2 weeks, they have dominated against these teams. Last week, they dominated against a team who's going to find themselves on the top 10. And last week, good God, they destroyed the New England Patriots. And I mean obliterated them. And that's even with Jimmy G playing some pretty terrible football. Had 2 interceptions, really not so great. But that run game is one of the best in the NFL. They were able to beat the Patriots 33-6. Wilson on the ground, 17 for 112 and 3 touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk had over 100 yards receiving. Their defense forced 3 interceptions. They made Cam Newton look so bad that they benched him. And then they put in Stidham, who threw in another interception. So yeah, that defense still has some juice in it. Now the question becomes, are the Patriots that bad? Or are the 49ers that good? And I think it's a little bit of both. But considering they beat the Rams soundly, and now they have decimated the New England Patriots, I'm okay with giving them a top 10 spot. I think it's going to be a really, really tough game for us still. They have a strong run game. They still have a good defense. So, 49ers, they're limping, but they're winning. Then number 9, you have the LA Rams. It was a beautiful display last night. Nick Foles didn't have a great night. 2 interceptions, went 28 for 40. Held David Montgomery under 50 yards. No touchdowns scored by the Bears offense. The Rams defense stepped up last night. Now, this is one of those teams that I look at, and Jared Goff played okay. He was fine. The run game, they're running by committee. There's a lot to be desired there. They have some weapons, obviously. I feel like the Rams are the epitome of they're a good team. The jury is still out if they're a great team. I don't know if they're going to be able to beat some of the teams on this list. Their defense gives them a shot. But if they're embarrassed like they were with the 49ers last week, they don't really make the top 10. But after that performance, either one, you look at the Bears and go, oh, yeah, they're just not really a great football team. They just have a great defense. Or the Rams just stepped the hell up and they played really good football. So I think that we still have to wait and see on the Rams. But for right now, the second NFC West team makes the top 10. And number 8, you got the Buffalo Bills. Oh, Bills, what's going on? Back-to-back losses, and then you take on the Jets. And I'm like, oh, okay. You're going to stomp them into next Tuesday. There was no stomping. The first half, I was real nervous. Real nervous. And then the second half, you allowed 4 total yards. So that was really impressive. For 6 sacks, 2 interceptions on Sam Darnold. That's a nice welcome back present for you. And the Bills, they're another team. Can they beat those really good teams? The games against the Titans and the Chiefs, I would argue the Chiefs was a little bit closer. They're tough games against tough opponents. The defense needs to have performances like they did second half against the Jets. The offense, still improving. But right now, the Bills, they're another really good team. Are they great? We'll wait and see. Number 7, you got the Tennessee Titans. Listen, first 3 quarters, they were getting stomped in that game by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And listen, kudos. They were down 20 points in the 3rd quarter, and they rallied on back. And then Steven Gostkowski was like, oh, no, I forgot how to kick footballs again. The offense, for the most part, for the majority of that game, guys like Derrick Henry were put in check. They kept Ryan Tannehill off the field as well. And that offense really wasn't a factor until the very end of the game. Now, as I've said with the Titans defense is the problem. That's the issue. This is one of those teams that I believe in their offense. I believe in their run game. If they can control time of possession like they didn't do against the Steelers, they can win a football game and they can put up lots of points. But that defense, as was illustrated even with the Texans game, it's not so good. They're really not getting after the quarterback at all. Now, Ben Roethlisberger threw 3 ugly interceptions, so you can give them some credit. But at the same time, this defense needs to improve if they're going to beat some of the great teams on this list. Then number 6, you got the Seattle Seahawks. A barn burner. That was a hell of a game. That was a hell of a game against the Cardinals. But good God, their defense is terrible. And listen, your offense is still good. Russell Wilson is still good. We'll talk about it. But your defense is bad. We knew the Cardinals' defense was bad. And we had an inkling that the Seahawks' defense was bad. But it was a battle of bad defenses and high-powered offenses on Sunday Night Football. That was in full display. They got straight up lit. They got lit up in the stat sheet. Kyler Murray basically did whatever he wanted to that team, and then they were able to run all over them. In addition, Russell Wilson made some absolute incredible throws. You look at some of those touchdowns to Lockett, absolutely disgusting, incredible. And of course, they can score from anywhere on the field. But Russell Wilson also throwing 3 interceptions is not something that you can do when your defense is this bad because the other team is going to score points. So right now, I'm putting the Seahawks above the Titans because I believe in the Seahawks offense more, but their defense, yeah. Both the Titans and Seahawks don't have good ones. Number 5, you got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. Back on track. And I will say, I thought this was going to be a much higher scoring game than it was. The defense, it did its job. And we were missing key starters. No Kevin King, of course. Kirksey has been out. Over on the offense side of the ball, we haven't had Lazard in a while, but no Aaron Jones, no left tackle David Bakhtiari. And yet, the offensive line was incredible. Jamal Williams was able to seize the day. He had a very productive day. But of course, the day went to Davante Adams, 13 for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. Incredible. Incredible. Now, a lot of haters out there are going to say, yes, but do that against good teams. And listen, there is an argument for that. But right now, the Packers are playing who's in front of them. And besides the Buccaneers game, they have been able to knock them down. This was a convincing win. This was a bounce back win. And now we take on Minnesota, who hopefully we will obliterate into 1,000 pieces. Number 4, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a close game for a little bit, and then it was 45-20. The defense, we talked about them last week and how damn good they were. The offense, oh boy, they were clicking. They scored 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. Tom Brady threw 4 touchdowns on the day. Gronk is coming into his own, and Devin White, good God, man. 3 sacks, and the hit that he put on Carr as he was trying to get that first down. He's a scary, scary man. That defense is a Super Bowl That defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. When the offense is clicking, that is a Super Bowl caliber team. We've said it from the beginning. You don't want to play the Buccaneers down the line. And it looks like they're starting to pick up some steam. Oh, and they got Antonio Brown, so maybe he could derail that train. Then number 3, you got the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm going to warn you, Ravens fans. You're close to getting knocked out of the top 3 because the Buccaneers are right on your tail. They had a bye week this week. However, the Ravens are still a very good football team. Their defense needs a little sprucing, which is why they went out and got Yannick Ngakoue for a 3rd rounder and a conditional 5th, which, not a bad deal for the Ravens. Reuniting him with Calais Campbell from Jacksonville, hoping to re-spark that. In addition, the biggest news, they signed Des Bryant to their practice squad. What is that going to mean? I mean, I don't know. Probably some more dropped balls. But they do need help in their passing game. Most definitely. They are ranked almost dead last in passing yards per game. Something that you wouldn't expect from a Lamar Jackson run offense. But that being said, they have a huge test against the Steelers this week. And that's going to kind of be the litmus test of seeing who is going to win the AFC North. And can the Ravens get over on those really good football teams? That's about to be proven. But one of these teams, whether it's the Steelers or the Ravens, are probably going to get knocked out of the top 3 by next week. Number 2, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. A little scary at the end. Big Ben making some ugly-ass throws. 3 interceptions, not so great. Chase Claypool was a non-factor in this game, but Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster cleaned it up. And again, I will say that this is one of the most balanced teams in football. Their defense is still very, very good. Obviously, not having Devin Bush is going to make an impact. But I think this is more of like they just let their foot off the gas a little bit. I don't think that comeback is indicative necessarily of the Steelers' defense. I think it's a little bit that the Titans are still a good football team, and they were ahead by a pretty good margin. They're not going to be able to do that against some teams like the Chiefs, but for right now, the Steelers remain at number 2 because they're a damn good football team. And finally, your reigning, defending power rankings champion, the Kansas City Chiefs, stomped the Broncos 43-16, and Patrick Mahomes really didn't have to do anything. 200 yards, 1 touchdown, nothing crazy there. That defense was the star of the game. They terrorized the Broncos. And listen, I know the Broncos are beat up. They're really not a great football team right now, but yeah, this was a statement and a slap in the mouth. So the Chiefs, they're another team. You don't count them out. Put them up against any team in the NFL, and they can win. Obviously, had they lost to the Raiders, which was pretty hurtful, but they look like they're getting things right back on track. Le'Veon Bell making his debut. Yeah, the rich just keep getting richer, and I just keep crying a little bit more. So those are your top 10 rankings. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think there's some other teams that should be on here? Like the Saints, they keep winning the football games, even though they don't really have any wide receivers left. Let me know what you think. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy. All social media is seen down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.